The final photos of these famous figures are eerily moving.
Before we begin, do us a favor and click that like button. Also subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to be inspired by these inspiring stories every day.
Today's world is incredibly image-focused. A quick look through any celebrity Instagram account will make this abundantly clear. But there's one aspect of that which nobody has any control over: what the last image of them will be. People poured over the final photographs of them, and they were moving, to say the least. The frontman of Linkin Park has always been open about his mental health problems, but it still came as a shock when he took his own life. In fact, he'd just been on holiday with his wife and kids. His career was going great, and he had lots to look forward to. But he was found dead on July 20th, 2017. Bennington's wife, Talinda, chose to share one of the last photographs ever taken of him, and she explained that although he looked happy in it, he'd obviously been struggling, and no one had known. In the comments, she wrote, "Read tweets and reach out with love and support to those that are having a bad day. Hashtag make Chester proud." Christina Grimmie was an up-and-coming new singer in 2016. Yes, she had millions of subscribers on YouTube and had finished third on TV singing competition The Voice. But on June 10th of that year, it was all cut short in the most horrible of ways. You see, an obsessed fan murdered Grimmie after a concert of hers in Orlando. People had naturally been taking photos of the singer at the concert where she was fatally shot. One young woman posted a picture on Instagram and captured it, "Never would I have thought that not even 5 minutes after we took this picture, you would have been shot. Hashtag pray for Christina." Grimmie herself had been a mere 22 years old. The last concert of singer Amy Winehouse, which took place in June 2011, was slammed by the media. Throughout it all, these singers seemed to be clearly drunk and struggling to remember things. The performance took place in Serbia, and even the country's defense minister called it a disappointment. Lucille Ball was one of the biggest stars of her era. Indeed, she was an actress, producer, and executive all in one, and created shows including I Love Lucy and the Lucy Desi Comedy Hour. She was also the first female to head a production studio, and that studio gave the world Star Trek. Freddie Mercury is still considered one of the greatest rock stars who ever lived. He was the frontman of Queen and the man behind most of their biggest hits. But he died at a tragically early age. Indeed, he contracted AIDS in 1987, at a time when it was still a death sentence, and lived for only a few more years. Not long before he died, Mercury recorded footage of Queen's "These Are the Days of Our Lives." In it, ever the showman, he's wearing makeup to hide the effects AIDS had on his body. But in the end, Mercury only revealed to the world that he had the condition a day before his death on November 24th, 1991. Actor Bill Paxton was in some of the most beloved films ever made: The Terminator, Aliens, Apollo 13, and Titanic, to name just some. But in February 2017, he mentioned in an interview that he had a damaged heart valve. In any case, he couldn't have known that just weeks later, that issue would result in his death. Earlier in February, Paxton opened up about his bout with rheumatic fever, which caused heart damage, during a podcast with Marc Maron. He contracted the illness when he was in 7th grade, saying, "I woke up one night, I'd been to a hockey game, and I woke up one night, and I had a lot of pain in my left wrist." Boxing legend Muhammad Ali had been ill for some time before his death in 2016. And when he passed away on June 3rd, the whole world mourned him. World leaders and sports people alike paid tribute, and his name trended on social media for days. But obviously his family were the most affected. One of Ali's daughters, Hannah, posted a photo on Twitter of the last time she talked to her dad. She captioned it, "My last photo of my beautiful father, telling him I love him on May 22nd, 2016. Underneath the post, many people offered their condolences and their memories of the sporting icon. Steve Jobs was a hugely influential designer and businessman. Yes, he co-founded the company Apple and also assisted in the runnings of both Pixar and the Walt Disney Company. And he might have done more, but in 2003, he was diagnosed with cancer of the pancreas. Eventually, many years later, it would kill him. Jobs' last public appearance was at a presentation for the Cupertino City Council on June 7, 2011. There, he talked about his plans to build a new sustainable office complex for Apple. Some of the last footage ever to be made of him was taken there, and it was noted how frail he looked. Just 4 months later, he was dead. Amelia Earhart, the iconic American pilot, famously disappeared along with her navigator during an attempt to circumnavigate the Earth in 1937. Interestingly, she was such a famous figure that to this day, conspiracy theories circulate about what really happened to her. However, the likelihood is that she simply died during that last flight. But before the flight took place, Earhart did a photo shoot to show off the luggage she'd be taking, namely clothes and maps folded into 2 lightweight cases. Just a couple of months later, her plane disappeared on July 2, 1937. Search efforts lasted until July 19th, but they never found her and no one ever has. The death of young actor Anton Yelchin came as a terrible shock. You see, the Star Trek star was killed in a freak accident on June 18, 2016. His Jeep Grand Cherokee had rolled down its driveway once Yelchin had got out of it and struck him, trapping him between the car and a brick mailbox. He was only 27. Yelchin was a talented photographer as well as an actor. Fittingly, his last photo on his Instagram, posted June 17th, was a self-portrait. It was a picture of him looking pensively into the camera while standing on Nantasket Beach. After his death, fans flooded the comments section with grieving messages, and they still do. Marilyn Monroe, one of the most iconic figures in modern-day American history, wasn't much like the bubbly blonde she played on screen. You see, her personal life was a terrible struggle. Although multiple conspiracy theories surround her 1962 death, the obvious scenario appears to be the most likely one. She committed suicide. Alan Rickman starred in big movies such as Die Hard, Galaxy Quest, and of course the Harry Potter series. But he kept his personal life very private. In August 2015, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and he told only his closest that it was terminal. He died on January 14, 2016. Rickman's last major public appearance was at the musical Hamilton. There in New York, he went backstage and posed with the show's creator and star, Lin-Manuel Miranda. He would have been battling the cancer at this point, but you'd never have guessed it. After Rickman's death, Miranda was one of many who paid tribute on Twitter. The last known photo of Monteith was taken on July 11th by his manager, Elena Kirshner, as the actor dined with her and casting director Maureen Webb. Monteith must have liked the moody picture because he set it as his profile pic. Even now, multiple years after he passed away, it's still there. Furthermore, the last photo of O'Riordan ever posted on social media was a saddening one. It was of her holding her pet cat, Geo, and she captured it, "Bye-bye, Geo, we're off to Ireland." Saddened fans took the tweet to be a sort of goodbye to them as well, leaving messages on the Twitter account about what O'Riordan meant to them. Photographs featured heavily in the death of Diana, Princess of Wales, for she was fleeing from paparazzi in her car while in Paris on August 31, 1997. However, her driver lost control of the vehicle at high speed, and Diana, her boyfriend Dodi Fayed, and the chauffeur, Henri Paul, were all killed. But their bodyguard, Trevor Rees-Jones, survived. One photo exists of the events leading up to the crash. In it, Diana's blonde hair can be seen as she turns around in the back seat. In the front are Trevor Rees-Jones and Henri Paul. The photo was taken by photographer Jacques Langevin, and it was actually presented as evidence in the inquest into the deaths. Because Steve Irwin was filming a TV show at the time, the last minutes of his death were caught on camera. The footage of the actual moment of impact was examined by cops before later being destroyed, as per his family's request. But video still exists of the time leading up to the accident, and Irwin can be seen poignantly making the OK sign. At the time, James Dean was driving a silver Porsche nicknamed Little Bastard, and rumors have persisted that the vehicle was cursed. Anyway, he was heading to a racing competition when he was killed, but on the way, some photos were taken of him and the car. And to this day, no one is completely sure what became of the car. Elvis Presley became the king of rock and roll in its heyday. The world went absolutely wild for him. And he conquered both the music charts and the world of television. But his health deteriorated as time went on. By 1997, people were calling him a parody of his former self. Yes, Presley's concerts turned into short, garbled affairs, and by March 1997, fans were starting to get angry. This photo, taken that year, shows how different he'd started to look. Indeed, drug abuse and a poor diet were beginning to take their toll. And on August 16th, Presley's girlfriend found him dead on the bathroom floor. He was only 42. Everyone knows what happened to those people. On January 28, 1986, the Challenger exploded less than 2 minutes after taking off, and all aboard were killed. The last photograph of the crew shows them walking out of the Kennedy Space Center operations building to the launch pad, all smiles and waves. Naturally, multiple photographers were there to cover President Kennedy's trip to Dallas on November 22, 1963. That date would, unbeknownst to any of them, go down in history. The president was shot and killed as he rode in a motorcade alongside Governor John Connally, Nellie Connally, 2 agents, and First Lady Jackie Kennedy. As President Kennedy's car went down the road, Nellie Connally said, "Mr. President, you can't say Dallas doesn't love you." And he responded, "No, you certainly can't." Those transpired to be his last words. Minutes later, as cameras were still going off, Lee Harvey Oswald fired from a building and killed the president. Well, that's always been the official explanation anyway. The world is filled with stories going viral every single day. But how many of these sites can you actually follow? We understand that your day should start with positive stories, stories that resonate with you. And so we started JoJo Stories. Our mission is to create meaningful stories that cover everything from animals to anthropology, history to environment and lifestyle. The kind of content you read on our site will be one you'll want to share with your family and friends. We hope you'll join our growing family and be part of our community. Welcome to JoJo Stories. JoJoStories.com.